All right, so you saw the NBA scores last night, right? Some of these games were wild.
Yeah, definitely some crazy finishes and some big statements made too.
It's more than just those numbers on the scoreboard, though, right? We're going to take a closer look at the games, really break down what happened.
Absolutely.
Think of this as your chance to go beyond just who won and lost, really understand the key moments, the strategies, the players who really stepped up.
It's about those little details that make all the difference, right? The things that don't always show up in the box score.
Exactly. So we've got game reports, box scores, all kinds of insights to dive into.
Let's do it.
Okay, first up, let's talk about a game that went down to the wire.
Oh, yeah, you know which one I'm talking about.
Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Denver Nuggets.
That's the one.
140 to 139 final score.
Double overtime.
You can't make this stuff up.
Nope, that's about as intense as it gets.
It really shows you how much both teams wanted that win,
Yeah.
right? Going back and forth like that.
You could feel the energy even just watching on TV, I bet.
Absolutely. And Anthony Edwards for the Timberwolves, man, he was on fire.
Oh, yeah.
35 points, 10 rebounds, and all the reports talk about how he just took over in those overtime periods.
He was clutch hitting those big shots, making key plays on defense, too.
It's like he knew exactly what his team needed in those big moments.
Yeah, and, we got to mention Nikola Jokic, too. He had a triple-double for the Nuggets, 28 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is, but they still lost. So, it makes you wonder what else could they have done differently, even with a player like Jokic putting up those numbers.
Maybe it was just one of those nights where the other team had a little bit more magic. Okay, let's move on to a game that was a little bit different. Golden State Warriors versus the Memphis Grizzlies, 134 to a 125 final score.
High-scoring game.
This one was all about offense.
Well, Warriors just couldn't miss.
Stephen Curry, he was incredible.
Vintage Steph.
38 points, 8 assists, hit 7 three-pointers out of 12 attempts.
When he's on like that, it's hard to beat
It
them.
makes you realize why they've won so many championships, right?
Yeah. They know how to win.
Ja Morant for the Grizzlies. He had a good game, too. 32 points, 9 assists, but it wasn't enough.
He's so talented.
He feels like he's always a threat to score.
Absolutely, but the Warriors just had too much firepower in this one.
Okay, next up, we've got the Chicago Bulls versus the Toronto Raptors. The Bulls won this one pretty convincingly, 137 to 118.
Yeah, they really controlled that game.
What were the keys to their success?
Well, they played really well as a team. Everyone contributed, and they seemed to be on the same page on both ends of the court.
Abby White had a huge game, 28 points.
He was the leading scorer, and it sounds like he made some franchise history, too.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
It was a special night for him, for sure.
Taylor Horton-Tucker had a big game as well, 27 points, so it wasn't just a one-man show.
Exactly. The Bulls had a lot of guys step up and make plays.
The reports mentioned that they outscored the Raptors in the paint and from the free throw line.
Yeah. That's a sign of a team that's playing aggressively and making smart decisions on offense.
They were getting to the basket and drawing fouls.
And they were capitalizing on those opportunities at the free throw line.
The Raptors had a couple of players score 17 points each, Jacoby Walter and Emmanuel Quickley, but it wasn't enough.
The Bulls just had too much going for them in this one.
All right, let's move on to the Orlando Magic versus the San Antonio Spurs, 116 to 105 final score. The Magic won this one in a comeback.
Yeah, they were down for a while, but they really turned it on in the fourth quarter.
What was the key to that turnaround?
It sounds like their defense really stepped up in the second half. They made some adjustments, and they started getting stops.
Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, they both had great games offensively. Each scored 24 points.
Yeah, they provided the scoring punch, but it was the defense that really won them the game.
Harrison Barnes had 24 points to the Spurs, but it wasn't enough.
The Magic just found a way to shut down the rest of the Spurs offense.
This was a big win for the Magic. It moved them up to 7th place in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they're making a push for the playoffs.
They're a team to watch out for right now.
Absolutely. They're playing with a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Last but not least, we've got the Portland Trailblazers versus the Atlanta Hawks, 127 to 113 final score. The Trailblazers took this one.
Yeah, they looked really good in this game.
What stood out to you?
Well, Shaedon Sharpe had a huge game offensively. He scored 33 points.
Wow, that's impressive.
He was really feeling it.
And Denny Avdija had a double 25 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah, he was a force inside.
The reports talk about a big third quarter for the Trailblazers where they outscored the Hawks 40 to 30.
Yeah, that was the turning point in the game. They really took control.
Trae Young had 29 points for the Hawks, but it wasn't enough.
He's always a threat to score, but the rest of the team struggled in this one.
They had a lot of turnovers, and their three-point shooting wasn't very good.
Yeah, those are two areas that really hurt them.
This win was important for the Trailblazers. It keeps their playoff hopes alive.
They're still in the hunt.
They're definitely a team to keep an eye on.
All right, so we've talked about 5 really interesting games. What are some of the big takeaways? What are you seeing as we get closer to the playoffs?
Well, first of all, the level of competition is so high. Every game matters. Every team is fighting for something.
Yeah, the intensity is definitely ramping up.
And we're seeing so many different styles of play. You know, some teams are relying on their star players to carry them, while others are winning with a more balanced team effort.
It's a really exciting time to be a fan.
Absolutely. And you can really see how much these games mean to the players.
Yeah,
They're leaving it all out there on the court.
the playoffs are right around the corner.
And every win or loss can affect their seeding, their matchups, their momentum.
Those connected.
It's a really fascinating time to be following the NBA.
Absolutely.
So for everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into these recent games.
Hopefully you learned something new.
We tried to go beyond just the scores and really give you a sense of what happened on the court.
We wanted to highlight the key plays, the big moments, the storylines that are developing.
As we head into the playoffs, it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams perform under pressure.
The stakes are only going to get higher from here on out.
So here's something to think about as you watch the rest of the season. In those crucial games, when the pressure is on, what's more important? Individual brilliance or team chemistry?
It's a question that doesn't have an easy answer, but it's something to keep in mind as you watch these teams battle it out for a championship.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.